Today's podcast features one of my friends, and I am also one of her clients with her insurance and wealth management business. Katie Lambert is the guest on today's podcast, and this girl knows her shit about insurance and different strategies for you to be able to build wealth for your future and to be able to provide a safe place for you and your family to know that you're protected and taken care of. Katie has been instrumental in me as a small business owner being able to offer full benefits to my small team of six. And I couldn't have done it without her recommendations, her guidance, and her full service concierge mentality and ability to cut through all the crap and be able to help us maximize benefits while enjoying them at the best price we possibly can. I can't say enough about her knowledge and her servant leadership. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode and that you learned something new about life and wealth management. Enjoy. Welcome to Ladies Kicking Ass, a podcast for bold entrepreneurial women who are seeking community and authentic connections. My name is Tanya Wilson. I'm a wife, mama, entrepreneur, and growth coach who is crazy passionate about supporting you, babe. Yep, the ambitious woman who is ready to call her own shots and create a life and business that she truly adores. The best part about this podcast is our conversations are real, raw, and unfiltered. We chat about it all: our wins, losses, business, family, friendships, and how to get the hell out of our own way and believe in ourselves and our big ideas. I'm your new hype girl, and I can't wait to see what you create when you start believing that you can be who and whatever you want. So come on, let's get inspired and learn something new today. Welcome to the Ladies Kickin' Ass podcast. Okay, so today on Ladies Kicking Ass, we have the pleasure of having Katie with us today, and she is the owner of Rain Health and Wealth Management. And I personally work with Katie inside of my business to talk about health benefits and different things that we can offer to our employees. And I know that a lot of you may be like, well, this episode is not for me because I can't afford this. I'm a small business. I don't have the money to do that. But Katie has totally different approach than most insurance companies I have tried to deal with in the past, because she has a educational approach. She wants to find out what you want to offer, what your budget is, and then she will tailor things for you. I totally look at Katie as she is an extension of my business. I have a concierge person that helps me do all of these things. So if you're a smaller business and you don't have an HR department and someone to manage all of these things, Katie is your gal, because she does so much stuff for my employees. It's insane. And I just want to bring that to the rest of you to kind of think like, if I can afford this ridiculously high insurance plan, what can I try to do to give some benefits to my employees? It is one of the number one reasons why someone will stay at a business, and they choose one business over another, is because there are health benefits available to you. So with that, Katie, please continue to introduce yourself and your business and why you decided to get into this.
Well, I'm Katie Lambert with Rain Health and Wealth Management, and I've been had an agency for about 6 years now. And I got into it originally because I wanted to be able to provide for my child. I'm just going to be very vulnerable, very honest. I'm a single mom, and girl, we know women like we do it all, and it's just totally different from like a woman helping other business owners, because we get in the nitty gritty. Like whenever I'm talking to a family, you better know good and well that I have to make sure that I have mom or the wife on board, because they know all the doctors, they know all the medications, every single situation to the T. And so But when I came into health insurance originally, I just looked around and basically just tried to find a good company. And I learned a little bit. And it was one company where I could only sell one plan. And I remember I was on the phone with this guy and he was in his 60s and he was crying on the phone. And he's like, I'm losing my retirement paying for my health insurance. And I couldn't help him. And I just he was paying $3,000 a month for his health insurance. And I just felt so helpless. And so at that point, I was just like, no, I can't. I need to learn for myself how the actual full industry is, not on how somebody teaches you to sell insurance and what their plan is. And you need to have this because it's the best. That is absolute garbage. I wanted to know the ins and outs of individual health insurance, group plans, what means what, so then I can properly teach and educate my employers so they can go and choose something that's good for them. Everybody's going to want different things and have different desires, have different budgets and all that. So it's not my job to tell you what you need to do. It's my job to educate you on, look, this is what we're going to roll with, and this is how we're going to save money. Right. So, and making that employer look like a rock star so they can find something within their budget in the employee's needs and just, my health insurance is amazing because of my employer. Right. So in general, health insurance out there, the options are just so confusing. They're just so a lot of companies are really bad, and they will promise you the world. And so that's where I wanted to have a different approach where it's look, let me problem solve. So now, even to this day, I have agents coming to me in different companies. What would you do with this? How, can you help me with that? And so, and then I end up making them look better, so I do majority of my business is referrals because the people that I help, I go above and beyond. So that's kind of where it trickled into how can I make this happen for this person, and what's realistic and what's a good strategy. So that's really where it dove more and more into it, and it's so rewarding. I mean, don't get me wrong, it is a lot of work, but it is so rewarding when they come back to me and Katie, thank you so much. I would have never been able to do this on my own. That medication I can now take that was $3,000 a month, and now I can have it for free because of you. So
Wow.
that is just just really a really, really warming feeling that I'm changing their life. And because of the knowledge, because I took that time, it took me 2 years really to know the ins and outs the way that I needed to help someone. So, and it wasn't an easy thing, but it's just so rewarding. So that's how I became, Rain Health and Wealth Management, because it's not just health insurance. It's, looking at everything around the bat and offering, dental, vision, short-term, long-term disability, life insurance with living benefits, not just term, but there's also stuff that you can use for tax-free income for long-term care kind of benefits, right? It's a whole different realm. And empowering business owners to be able to use what's been out there, but not, people have been trying to sell you something. It's look at the options. How can this benefit me as a business owner, what I have access to, and how can I use it to just totally kick butt for my employees? So that's basically my entire mission, is to make that employer look like a rock star. And how can I keep out-of-pocket expenses, whether it's copays, deductibles, or whatever it is, as low as possible. And now because they're not going to understand it. You guys, this is not your field. That's why I want you to call me and let me help you. Let me make sure you get reimbursed on something, or, oh, they double billed on that, or let me, show you some different routes. So that's where we ended up today.
Well, I can attest to how much she does actually help with things. It's just a matter of I have to get this done. So where am I supposed to go to get this done?
Yeah.
Katie truly understands the lingo that I think a lot of people get stuck in, and they're like, well, shit, I don't know what they're talking about. So they're the professional. I should just listen to them. And like you said, so many of them are just trying to sell you a product. But where's the
Yeah.
support afterwards? If you're buying a product of something, you need to be able to, like, if you have questions or if you need help, that you've got a support system around it. And Katie's business definitely does things like that. And it's so important as small business owners that you have someone in your corner that you can rely on to do those things. So I appreciate you very, very much. And I know that you come at things with some very interesting strategies. One of those things I totally want you to touch on, because this is such a passion to me. I have had more than a few friends have to bury children before. And
Yeah.
the sad thing is that it tends to be this thought process with life insurance that if you're not generating money, so say kids that don't have a job and they're not generating this money, like, why do you have life insurance on your children? Like, why would you do that? And my whole thought with that, in seeing friends, like, they're literally waiting for a GoFundMe account to fund for them to plan a funeral for their own child, let alone the emotional trauma that comes from losing a child. Like,
Yeah.
if something happened to my kids, I would be useless for a long period of time. And it's not funny. It's like, it's so true that people don't think about stuff like that. So would you please go into a little more detail talking about what the living benefit stuff is and the options that people have for life insurance, and what that means as an employer to be able to provide such a really inexpensive coverage to protect the families of the people that work for you?
Yeah, definitely. So, as far as living benefits, what living benefits is if something happened to you and you did not die, how are you going to pay for things? Basically, you're not working, or if something happened to your child and you're not working because there's things going on, you have to take care of them. And so it's just really puts you in a financial bind. You can use your death benefit tax free while alive, right? So where it comes off of the death benefit, you get to decide how you want to use that money, right? So, and it's tax free, like I said. So, um, if something happened, and God forbid, if your child got cancer, or had something major going on, now you can pull from that, right? And so, if you need more medical equipment, things that's experimental kind of treatments that haven't been approved yet, because we're just trying to do whatever we can to make sure that that baby is taken care of, because this is the biggest thing on term policies. Like, when people, oh, I have life insurance through my work, it's super cheap. I am all for that. Have it, get as much as you can, because it's dirt cheap. But there's, most of the time, there are not living benefits on there. So that's where you ever hear some people say, oh, make sure you have life insurance outside of work, right? Because people leave jobs and blah, blah, blah. But in the end of the day, you got to make sure that it has the living benefits: terminal illness, critical illness, chronic illness, right? Critical illness is more so like a short-term type of, it's something big and major, but you recover within 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, whatever that is, right? Chronic illness is like that long-term kind of illness. Like, you can't take care of yourself, you can't bathe yourself, feed yourself. There's 6 of them. They're called activities of daily living. And so when you can't perform those 2 out of the 6, that's a chronic illness benefit, right? So it's an alternative to long-term care. When people get the long-term care policies that are crazy expensive, and then they're very limited. So in the end of the day, you can't have those benefits be paid out unless you're being taken care of by a health professional. That's more money that's going towards that service, versus under a life insurance policy, you need those benefits. You need that money to take care of medical equipment, bills, and making sure that you're able to get what is needed for that child or that person in general. So it frees up much more money, because you don't need somebody to go pay a health professional to get those services done, right? Not necessarily. Sometimes you just want to pay for home health care or something. My point is that you have that money that's available more than what you're limited on of those types of like long-term care kind of policies. So whether it's just regular bills, maybe it's a lifetime vacation that you don't know what's going on and you want to go and have that time that money cannot buy, right? That things are happening and it's a terminal illness or it's something's very serious and you want to give that child or that family member something that you'll never forget. That is huge. So those are some of the things that we can use for living benefits. And I go back to term policies. So like people will get it like outside of their work, but making sure you ask, does this have living benefits? Does this have chronic illness, terminal illness? And a lot of companies will sell it separately. So you get some of the home and auto companies. Yeah, we sell it. And that's an additional cost. That should not have to be an additional cost. That should be under your life insurance policy, right? So that's where it's the difference is understanding where you're going to get help and what does it have under it, right? So, and then also for kids, the only way they can get living benefits is if they have a permanent life insurance policy. So you can get like a term rider under like parents and stuff, and it can go up to like 25,000, 30,000. It kind of just depends on the company. But still, they can't have the living benefits. So that they only get that if they die, right? So if something happens and they do not die, they have, again, those living benefits on a permanent life insurance policy. Another reason why we get it is so we can save for school, for their future, and things like that. So now you're killing 2 birds, 3 birds, 4 birds with 1 stone, right? So you're multitasking your money and saving for their future. And that's huge. They can go and take it for their future and save for retirement, tax-free income if they want, right? I'll give you a perfect example. My child, I'm doing $100 a month on my child. I got it when she was like 2 or 3. And it's just $100 a month. And if she decides to take it over and take it all the way to 65, she can do it sooner. It doesn't matter. You guys get to choose. But she'll have anywhere between $7,000 to $14,000 a month tax-free for the rest of her life. Right? So it's all depends on your budget and you get to decide. But the point is that my baby is protected if something major were to happen. And I'm not depleting my 401k, my other retirement accounts, and getting penalized and taxed heavily because of this situation. It's enough just to deal with the heaviness of your family member going through this major event. But now financially you're in a bind because you didn't have something set up properly, right? So there's several different types of policies out there that you can even use as your own bank, and they can kick butt. But it's about being educated properly so you can choose what's good for you and your family, right? So, but if all else fails, just having term life insurance, which is the cheapest cost of insurance, with the living benefits in it. So you guys are protected if somebody doesn't die. So you're not just totally going bankrupt, so
I think it's fascinating with those plans too that we talked about when I set those up for my kids too. Like this truly is a generational shift. Because I know for me as a kid growing up, like if I wanted to go to college or I wanted to go do things like that, there was no money put aside for that. Many people in the home service industry too, they don't have like college savings plans and all these things for their kids. Things are put in, they just don't know. They just don't know. So that is something that I appreciated so much, is you just educating us on different things like that. Like my daughter wants to go to EVIT and get her cosmetology license. And then she wants to get, while she's doing hair, she's going to get her esthetician stuff and open her own salon. Where if she was just going to save in a regular, I think they're like 503B or whatever they are called plans. If you're not going to some specific school, you can't even take that money out to use that to do those things. So it's something that we're putting a little nest egg together for her to be able to have money to fund those dreams in the future. It's something that is very a small amount of money that is actually coming out every month that can contribute to them living a completely different life
Yeah.
than the rest of us that kind of had to struggle and claw at trying to be able to do things. It's a great way to be able to set your children up.
Yeah. Yep. And it's all tax free, right? As long as it's within the boundaries of the IRS rules, right? As far as like payment and death benefit, it gets really deep in there. But I mean, that's literally how you build a generational wealth, right? That's what the Rockefellers did, right? They put it
Yep.
in their trust to have, in order to receive this, you have to take a portion and put a new ongoing life insurance policy. And it just kept growing. And this is compound interest. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a major difference. And in your family's life, protecting yourself, but also using it for several different options. People use it to get out of debt. People use it for their business as well, right? So it just depends on the person and what financial goals they have, what desires they have for themselves, for their kids, for their family. And using it properly, it can kick butt for sure.
I think that's an excellent thing to talk about. And I think a lot of people don't really understand the difference of, permanent life insurance versus term life insurance. Can you explain a little bit what the difference is between those things?
Yeah. Term life insurance is great. I mean, this is what people know. Like, okay, how much is it going to be for, $250,000 in life insurance, right? Okay, it's the
Mhm.
cheapest cost of insurance, and that's great. And usually it'll last a span of 20, 30, some even maybe 40 years, right? But when that time passes, it expires and you're done. So a lot of times people don't know like the stats. 90% of people outlive their term life insurance policies, but I mean, it was cheap and it did what it needed to do. So I always tell people, if you have something major going on, if you have this term life insurance policy, you better make sure you call me. We have to get that money for the living benefits, right? So because it's going to expire and you don't get that money back. Some companies will say, yeah, there's a return of premium and all that kind of stuff. But really, at what point does it make sense? That's where you have
Yeah.
to look at and analyze everything based on premium and all that type of stuff. So we're having a permanent life insurance policy, you're going to use it and you're going to use all of it, whatever the course of life brings you. That's the major difference. And whatever's left goes to your beneficiaries. So if you're super healthy years on and you die in your sleep at age 80, it's done what it's needed to do. You've used it for retirement, tax-free income. You've used it for your business throughout. You've used it for whatever you needed. Maybe you need to borrow and use it for student loans or whatever it is, right? Pay yourself back and let it continue to grow. But when all is said and done, whatever the course of life brings you, you've used it and you've not gotten penalized. You haven't had to deal with all the craziness when you're dealing with these retirement accounts, and the benefits are tax free. So, whether you also have on the flip side a major issue in regards to your health, now it's done what it's needed to do, right? And paying for burial, leaving a legacy for your kids. Like, instead of going bankrupt and now your kids are having to deal with all the financial issues, or
Yeah.
taking care of you and taking care of all your bills because you didn't do some of those things early
Yeah.
on, right? So I'll give you this perfect example. A client of mine, she's like, yeah, I want what my mom had. And my mom ended up we have Alzheimer's in our family. That's what she was telling me. And she's like, I want what she had because it paid for everything, because she had it when she was younger too. Because the longer you have it, the bigger it builds in compound interest, right?
Sure.
So it's about that time and how much you're desiring as a person to set aside, right? So and where it paid for her assisted living, it paid for everything that she needed, and she had some left over. Like, that's the true form of like, whoa, this is amazing. It's just picking what is good for you specifically based on what you're wanting and your budget, right?
Yeah.
um so that it's just, there's so many different scenarios out there like that. but making sure above all, having the living benefits for sure.
Yeah. And the quicker you get into things like that and you purchase life insurance policies at a younger age, where many of us are like, shit, I'm fine. I don't need any of this stuff yet. It just gets more expensive the longer that you wait.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
something to think about when you are younger and to encourage people to do that. That is something that in my business, um, Katie has been able to find plans and get things for people here that at least my business will cover the first $100,000 for anybody that works here. And the reason for that is because I don't want ever, if something happened to someone on my team, for their family to be worried about how they're going to take care of funeral arrangements or things
Yeah.
like that. I want them to be taken care of. And I don't have one premium that I think is more than maybe $30 a month. Like that
Yeah.
is a very inexpensive, and I pay 100% of that because that is one very inexpensive way and a very genuine way of saying, I care about you as a person outside of this place of work too. And I'm going to
Yeah.
make sure that your family is taken care of should something happen with that. So, at bare minimum, that is something I always recommend to employers. Even if you're at a point where you don't think or you don't have the budget for health insurance or things like that, get a life insurance plan and let them know that you care about, their family's well-being.
Yeah.
So that they don't ever have to worry about that. As an employer, if you're a good employer, that's something that you definitely want to make sure that your employees and your team members are taken care of outside of work as well.
Yeah. But I mean, also to the point where if something's going on, and whether it's them or their kids, and now that's putting the employer in a financial bind too, because if it's a critical employee and now they're having to miss work because they are having issues, that's also where that life insurance policy can kick in and be a huge asset to not just the burden of that employee, but the burden of that employer of like, oh man, the business is suffering as well, right? Because when
Yeah.
you have great employees, it's a family, right? So it's
Yeah.
like and you when you keep these great employees, it's like it makes your business skyrocket. So it's like
Mhm.
the whole point to bring in better employees by offering them better options that aren't robbing you either, right? As an employer.
Yeah.
Like so
Yep.
yeah, for sure.
I think that is fantastic. So I want to touch a little bit about medical insurance because ever
Mhm.
since the Obamacare, all of these things, like there's so much just crazy stories about things or people trying to sell you shit that you don't need or
Mhm.
it's just everybody thinks of medical insurance of it's so expensive, no one can afford it, it's so expensive, or the deductibles are so high. So I know you mentioned earlier when we were kind of doing the introduction like an individual versus a group plan.
Mhm.
What does that mean?
So, for those who are basically not being offered health insurance through their employer, like a traditional group, and maybe they're just responsible for either they have to get it through ACA, the marketplace, healthcare.gov, the exchange, all that is the same thing, right? It's all based on your income. Right. And it's all depends on how you're being paid, whether that's a 1099 or a W 2. So it can be awesome for some people because they can get a subsidy, meaning a discount on their premiums and coverage, right? Or it can
Mhm.
really suck for others because it's just crazy expensive. They don't get any help with it. And it's just robbing them because right now, the highest max out of pocket is $9,100 for an individual. It doesn't make any sense. So, like I said, it's good for some people and some people it's not, right? So that's where when they built Obamacare, put that in place, it was because there's a lot of people that have pre-existing conditions and they couldn't get any type of health insurance unless they were with an actual employer. And so that's where it was born. But on the flip side, when Obamacare was born, they had doubled their coding and made it very complicated for insurance companies in general. So it's kind of a mixture of, it sucks for a lot of health insurance companies because it's made things very complicated in and out of network and codings and all this type of craziness. But in the end of the day, it's super important for employers to know their rights and the laws, because when you have 50 eligible employers or more, you're required to offer health insurance, right? So what about everybody that's under that threshold, right? You're not required to, but you want to offer something to be to have that incentive. And who are you talking to is the question. And what company or companies do they represent? Do they only price out the traditional major medical plans, right? With like the traditional, like the Blue Cross, the Aetnas, the Cignas, United Health, did they only look at those plans that are very crazy expensive, and with the high deductibles, but there's no restriction in health, right? So it's kind of just depends on the situation. Now, on the flip side, did they have somebody quoting them that only works with one company, and oh, here's the healthy plan and that's it, and they kick you off after a certain time, right? So it's important to have someone who's grounded in everything, right? So because I can give you the traditional major medical plans, but they are expensive. I have one group who he's like, I'm fine with paying $1,600 a month for my family because he wants the name brand, the Blue Cross, right? So I'm like, okay, like we can cut that in half almost, but it is just about what they want,
Yeah.
right? So, and then it's looking at the happy medium, finding health insurance plans that are going to cover you well, that you're never going to get kicked off of, right? Those are the biggest things, that your exposure is little to none without the premium being astronomically high. And also knowing, do you have to offer COBRA, right? So it depends on the carriers, the companies. It depends on, because there's some non-traditional major medical plans out there that, are they don't have as many restrictions. The only restrictions are participation fees, right? So it really depends on who's in your group and how I can problem solve all together. So that's when my approach is coming in, like, okay, how many employees you got? What are your desires as an employer overall? And now let's look at, based on everybody's health, I go and talk to each employee to see, what are we working with? What do they need? So that can tell me what's going on within what I'm able to offer them. So then we can work in a different way versus just, nope, you have to have this one that's for that person is going to be $600 a month, because of their health issue, because of X, Y, and Z. Well, we can work in many different routes. So and I can go in 1,000 different directions with that too. But that's where it's a part of having that overall education and having the resources at your hand, to where now you look like a rock star because, oh I didn't pay anything when I went to the doctor. Okay, great. And fixing things where it needs to be addressed if they have some type of pre-existing condition, right?
Or I got money back.
Or you get money back. Heck yeah. And this is what's crazy, is that it's all depending on how these insurance companies are categorized. Because if someone is, able to get something like, what you and I have, and it's all about where you go. When people understand more of the health side is when they have paid cash for services. Maybe they didn't have health insurance for a while and they're like, this is highway robbery. I'm not going to go with X, Y, and Z, because they've had bad experiences with other bad insurance companies who promise the world to you, and then you get these surprise shocks, right? Yeah, they don't pay, and it's just like they're just trying to get a commission in the end of the day, right? When I sign people up on something, I want to be with them for life, unless they get another job like with a big employer or whatever, but I want to be with them for life. So I want to make sure that my word is true. And that's where it's like, you get to choose where you want to go. And that's where the industry is heading, right? All of these premiums are getting astronomically high, and the deductibles are just getting higher and higher. Oh, this is what your deductible and max out of pocket is if you're out of network for a family: $11,000, $14,000. It just doesn't make sense. So instead, let's work a different route and problem solve, right? So if you happen to get $1,000 back on your because of the route that you're asking me for help, I'm all about that. Right. And it's tax free because of the way it's categorized as a supplemental insurance company, and it can kick butt. Is it perfect? By all means, no. But it's about having the power and the education to know, if I just went here, that surgery only cost $2,500 versus going to the other surgery, the same doctor, and it was 10 grand. Right.
Yeah.
It's like,
And I think a lot of people don't know that they have those kinds of options available. Like so
yeah.
many of us for years have been like, and like the insurance that we have, sometimes you will go in and people will be like, this insurance sucks. This is blah, blah,
Mhm.
blah, because all they know of is the major carriers for insurance. And I think a lot of people's mindset is, if I don't have the Cigna, Aetna, Blue Cross, Blue Shield, whatever, then my doctor's not going to take it, or they don't take these
Mhm.
other ones. What I know, working with you, you help us find those kinds of things. Where if it's a procedure, like my son had to go to a foot doctor. Hey, Katie, what's a great foot doctor that we can go to that takes our insurance and isn't going to give us a bunch of crap, Like,
Right.
it's so nice to be able to have that resource to do that. And most insurance companies do not have resources available for that. They'll steer you to a website and say, find your own people.
Mhm.
So I think that's a huge benefit with working with your business that I very much love. And so do my employees. Everyone raves about Katie and the way that she's able to help them, because this is not a normal thing. And it is a premium that when you are comparing and you're ready to jump into offering health insurance benefits for your employees, looking at some of these ancillary insurance companies and these alternative insurance, well, they're still insurance, but like alternative
Mhm.
from the big name people, a lot of times you can end up covering a lot more of that for your employee than if you went with one of these big companies. With what Katie's been able to hook us up with, I pay for those with my employees. It fit into my budget to be able to do that. Now they can add their family on and then we can figure that out with payroll situation, but to be able to take care of your employees and be able to say, I offer 100% paid health insurance benefits for you is massive and will make you stand out among your competition, because most
Yeah.
people can't do that because they don't know plans like this exist. So that is why it's so important that you continue to keep researching. Contact Katie. All of her information will be in the show notes. Is there places where you are legal to sell insurance and
Oh,
not legal to sell insurance, or how does that stuff work? Because we have listeners from all over the place.
so I am licensed in about 15 states right now. And I can get more licenses. It doesn't matter. So, I mean, I can get licensed in every state if I need to. That's not a big deal. It's just knowing some states have restrictions. So, and then again, it's about the problem solving. How can you work around that? How can I help that person get what they need? Right. So,
Sure.
and what works for them. So yeah, I mean, everywhere from Texas, Nevada, Michigan is where I'm originally from, North Carolina, Florida, you name it. I mean, I have Kentucky, tons, Illinois, everywhere, right? So it's not a big deal if I need to get another license or two, right? That's super easy for me. It's just like, I'll give you a perfect example right now. I got a guy in Missouri, and he's like, Katie, you really helped me with this other guy. I was able to hire him, and I really wanted him so he can make his business better. He was trying to push to hire him for like 2 years. And the previous employer that he was at, offered like it was a big group plan. And so they paid for these crazy medications, and we were able to problem solve, and boom, we got him set, and he was just super happy. And so now I'm trying to work on another employee, and it's building a huge asset for him because I know the routes to take to get him where he needs to be, and like making his out of pocket significantly less. This is another point,
Mhm.
is and it's something we even need to talk about. It's called an HRA, health reimbursement arrangement. This is even to the next level, to where it's like you get to decide as an employer, if you want to contribute for some out-of-pocket expenses, and now that's even better for them. But like I said, there's so many different parts. I don't go with just one company. I will go with a few different ones, right? But again, it depends on that employer, what their desire is. So,
Yeah.
so
And I think it's important to note as well, like if you are just starting to add benefits to things, you can add them and continue adding different ones um up to, as your budget fluctuates, as you become a larger company, you can add more things to that. It's something where like you could start off with a life insurance policy. You could start off with dental and vision,
yeah,
insurance. I know dental is a big thing. I think that's probably one of the number one things everyone has used here. And everyone's like, oh my God, that plan is amazing. Even my dentist says that plan is amazing. And I'm like, fantastic. And it costs like $40 a month for my employees to be on this. So, I mean, it's something even with small incremental things like that. Like if you've got $30 in, let's say, a life insurance and $40 and a vision and health dental plan, you're not even spending $100 a month on this employee. And it goes so much further than what that $100 really means. You're investing in them as people and you
yeah,
care about their health. And as you grow, you can always add bigger and better things to that. I think it's important that it's not an all or nothing situation with health benefits. And if you work with someone as great as Katie, she can advise you on those things. Like, this is my budget. I only have $50 a month to give my employees something. What can we put together for this?
right.
Even it's like prescription savings plans or things like that, that you've
Hmm.
got a contact for someone that can help you do these things. So there is availability in the marketplace for you to be able to provide benefits. That's not just that one-stop expensive shop of health insurance availability.
Yeah, for sure.
Super, super huge. Well, thank you so much for all of your information. I've talked to Katie so many times, and I know this woman can go into a million different directions with her knowledge. It will blow your mind of how much she knows. And one conversation with her, and you will know how much she cares. So that is a very important thing to also have as a insurance liaison, is someone that actually cares about the people that are on your team and wants to do right by them. So one of the last questions in closing that I always ask everybody is that Ladies Kicking Ass is all about bringing a unique group of kick-ass women together who intentionally want to help other women grow and help them become better people. So I would like to know, in your own words, what does the phrase ladies kicking ass mean to you?
In spite of whatever you may be going through, one thing for sure, women will triumph. Like, we make it happen. We multitask. We just grind. And it's a difference between men. And that's just being pretty honest. And some people might look at that like, oh, whatever. But in the end of the day, women's hearts, we have so much emotion. So not only are we going to go and make things happen in whatever industry that we're in, but our heart, people see that. And people might say that we might get too emotional, but it's where it's like, no, we're going to go above and beyond. We're going to make sure that those people are taken care of in whatever specialty that we may have in anybody's kind of business. But it's about making sure that you are just extending everything that you have to help that other person, that they're people, they're real people. They have families, they have lives, and their life is important. And that's something that I feel like for like this group, people will honor that, right? And
Mhm.
and that's how you can go above and beyond. That's how you can kick some serious booty. Right? So
Yep.
for sure.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for your time today and for your wisdom with stuff. I'm sure there will be lots of questions and things like that are regarding everything. What is the best place for people to find you if they want to have more discussion with you about benefits?
So you can also check out my website is rainhealthandwealth.com. Right. So, and it's all spelled out, and that's reign is spelled REIGN, like you're reigning over a kingdom. So, you can check that website out. Also, my email, rainhealthandwealth@gmail. Make it super easy. And my contact number, I have two numbers, a 520 number for Arizona. So, because that's where I live. And so it's 520-397-3444. And then also my direct line as well, which I can't get rid of it. It's a Michigan number. I had it since 17. So, and I have a ton of clients still on there and they use it. So I just keep it. But it is 734-664-9970. Call me, text me, email me. You can request an appointment on my website as well. And how can I make you look like a rock star, basically? How can I help you? What problems do you have? And it's not like I'm looking for problems, but it's just so rewarding when I can help that person who just felt so lost for so long. So also, I didn't mention this before, but it's even the Medicare route too, right? So if you're transitioning into Medicare, you better believe you need to be well educated in that because you have rights. So it's a whole plethora of options out there, and making sure that you have chosen what's good for you in any entity.
Okay. Excellent. I didn't even think about that. See, it's like the stuff that you're not ready to think about yet. That is why Katie is so awesome. Thank you again so much for your time today. I will put all of the information that Katie has just shared in the show notes too. Be sure to check her out and ask her any questions. She is incredible to work with. So thank you so much, Katie.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Today's message was pure inspirational fire. I loved it so much. Hey, if you got a lot out of today's show and you think a friend of yours may love it too, please do me a quick favor. Screenshot the episode, post it, tag us at Ladies Kickin' Ass, or share the link to the episode. I'm here to help and support as many badasses as possible, and your generosity in sharing the show to your audience means the world to me. Don't forget to hit subscribe to be notified of all newly released episodes. And leaving the show a 5-star review is the ultimate expression of love. If you're interested in becoming a guest on the podcast, I'd love to hear from you. Shoot me a DM on Instagram or Facebook and we can chat further. There's also a link to connect in the show notes. Thank you for being part of our tribe. Now go kick some ass.